Hi, if it's your first time joining us, welcome to the Peace and Love podcast. I'm your host, Siva. If you're coming back, thanks for joining us today. So today's episode, maybe switch it up a little bit. I've been talking a lot about confidence, charisma, being outgoing. I just felt really inspired to talk about this topic today because it's something a lot of people struggle with, and not a lot of people know how to address it, really. We've all lived full lives, whether you're 18 watching this, there's going to be things in your life that were challenging. There's going to be things that you had to make tough choices, things that you might even regret. Whether you're under 18 or above 60 years old watching this, we all have had challenges in our life. It's part of the human experience. As I study human nature, I notice the tendency to kind of linger in the past and focus a lot on the past. And while that can be helpful for learning things and just enjoying the past, maybe in your memory, it's not always helpful to have on the front of your mind when you feel like there were some things in your past that were challenging. Whether it's more obvious, like your past bothers you every day and you're aware of it, or maybe it's more subconscious, like certain scenarios make you uneasy, certain types of events make you uneasy because of something that happened in the past. A lot of people let their present be affected simply by things that have occurred in the past. So today's episode is going to be all about releasing the past, whether it's just a mental fixation, an emotional charge, or something else. There's no reason for the past to bother you anymore because the nature of life is that we have an eternal now. And what I mean by that is the present in this moment is eternal. Wherever you are, you have the chance to step in and be with yourself in the now. And when you are able to do that, amazing things happen. When you're present, you're able to notice things about the world. You're able to notice things about others. You're able to relax. You're able to feel safe. You're able to enjoy, actually. But the problem is when you think about the past or even the future, not only does it take you out of that enjoyment, take you out of that relaxation, but it causes you to project images from your mind onto the world. And so now you're not even experiencing real life. You're experiencing the old records that you have in files. When you live this way, it's so detrimental because you're not even seeing life how it is. It sounds crazy, but when you're not present, you are literally not seeing life how it is, and you're losing so much detail, nuance, and enjoyment by missing what's in front of your head if you're paying attention to all the little categories and files that your brain has come up with. Oh, this situation is this way. This type of person is this thing. This place looks like this. When you're able to be present, it unlocks a whole new world for you because you realize, the beauty in things. When you're able to be fully present, you actually notice your surroundings. How many times have you driven on the same street and it always looks the same every single day? But there's a difference. When you're really present, you can see all the little nuances. It's almost like being in a new town every single day because you're constantly aware of the newness that's unfolding, the beauty of it all. But it also unlocks a new world because you realize that the past literally has no weight on your present. And that's what ultimately gives you freedom. If you feel trapped by your past, you feel that you have no other possibility but to repeat it because subconsciously you're repeating it every day. You're thinking about it. But when you let go of your past, you become present and you realize that you can create whatever you want. And the present is really determined by you. When you feel this type of presence, you feel safe knowing that you can create what you prefer. You know that you'll be okay. You know that everything that's happening is to serve you and you're actually enjoying the process. So let's get into letting go of the past, what that means, how it can help you, and how to do it. So there's a lot of reasons why something from the past could be replaying in your mind. And there's varying degrees of the severity. So for example, in my life, I've had certain people that stepped into my life and it nonstop. It's like I'm thinking about them every single day. Intimate, vulnerable share, but I'm sure that other people can relate. Something happens and it literally, whether it's a person or an event, I've had that happen as well. It's like this event, this person, this scenario, it just keeps playing over and over and over and over again in your mind. And this starts to drive you up a wall. When you have the awareness that you're even being stuck in the past, that's like one of the most uncomfortable places to be. The first stage is maybe you're thinking about it and you're so deep into it you don't realize that you're thinking about it all the time. But when you have that awareness, oh my gosh, I spend probably the majority of my day thinking about this, or it just comes up literally every 5 minutes. It's like torture because you don't know what to do to get out of it, and you notice it. It's like being bit by a mosquito all the time, but you don't know how to get rid of it. This type of replay event can happen for a lot of reasons. Some of them might be that something shocking happened. When something really shocking happens, it has a tendency to kind of get stuck in your energy field, stuck in your mind, stuck in your consciousness, because it was just so abrupt and so shocking. Another reason this can happen is because it feels incomplete. The subconscious hates things that are incomplete. It's why you can go see a movie, they'll leave a cliffhanger, then you'll come back a year later and pay to see the next movie because they left that cliffhanger. It feels so unfinished. It could just be an emotional charge. You think about it all the time because you're trying to process. You're still upset. You're still heartbroken over something that happened in the past. You're still incomplete almost in a way because you're still feeling that type of emotional tension. Sometimes it can just get to be a habit. If you're used to thinking about the same person, the same thing, you might have to just get into the habit of not doing it. Whatever the case may be, I'm going to give you some tools to help you stop being in the past and actually enjoying your present now. So the first thing that we need to address, this is foundational. If you don't have this, nothing else that I say in this video is going to work. So I talk about resistance a lot, but it's very specific in this context. Of course, maybe don't resist your emotions, but I'm going to explain it so you understand it for this particular context and why it's so important that we don't resist things. If you tune in regularly, you've probably heard me say, whatever you resist persists. And it's no different in this area. And it's actually much more important when we're talking about the past. Because, like I said, what you resist persists. And if you constantly resist even looking at the past, there is genuinely no way for it to be let go of. Imagine your energy, your balance, your body is like a body of water. And resistance is literally like building a dam. Every time you have a resistance towards something, it's like building a dam. Maybe a little bit of a resistance is maybe just a little piece of wood, right? But when you have a huge resistance, it can create a wall. And now all of a sudden, you have created a dam in your flow of river and your flow of energy. And with that dam, it starts to cause blockages. And you start to wonder, okay, why am I having an imbalance? Why is the water not coming over here? Why is my energy all out of whack? It's because you're not letting things naturally flow how they want to go. When you're in resistance, you're actually causing the pain that you say that you don't want. There's this misconception that dealing with your emotions, looking at the past, processing is just the most painful thing ever. But what's really more painful is resisting it. When you resist something, when you resist that emotional charge, that pain, you're literally feeling it every day, but you're pushing it down. Imagine trying to walk around with the backpack that's so overfull and trying to push down things every single day, carrying around this heavy backpack. Wouldn't it just be easier to throw some stuff out? And you're like, oh, but the backpack's dirty. I don't want to touch the backpack. It's gross. Okay, but isn't that much easier than carrying it around every single place that you go? I mean, literally think about that. Your baggage is genuinely like carrying something on your back every single place that you go. But it's like, okay, but I don't want to deal with the backpack because it kind of makes me uncomfortable, like going through the things and just throwing them away. The backpack's dirty. I just don't really want to touch it. It's like, okay, but you're actually taking that every single place that you go. And until you do something about it, you're going to carry it for the rest of your life. Can't you imagine just the relief of just setting the backpack down and being able to walk around freely without it? And that's the difference that I'm talking about here. When you let go of your resistance, you're going to be able to put that backpack down finally. Now that I've gotten a little clear on why resistance is just not going to work, let's get a little bit more clear on how it shows up, how to let go of resistance. Part of the reason the past keeps coming up is because when you resist something, like I said, you're not letting it process. So the more you resist something, the less of a chance that it has to process. And if it's not processing, you're going to keep thinking about it so that it can process. And the worst part about this is the more that you repress something into your subconscious, and the deeper and the better you are at that, the more that it starts to manifest. That's why they say, like, what you are afraid of, you attract, is because if you don't allow yourself to be afraid of that thing, you push it into your subconscious. If you know anything about manifestation, you know that the subconscious is super good at creating things. So what we don't want to do is just push things down into our subconscious, keep them locked in there so that they can just be created in the external world so that we can process it that way. It's so much easier to just process it on your own terms than to have it happen in the outside world and be so abrupt like that. It's not necessary. So the way that resistance actually comes up is we either see something that makes us uncomfortable, think about something that makes us uncomfortable, and it's almost like a split second decision. We feel that tension in our body. You've heard people say, like, oh, my heart dropped. I felt it in the pit of my stomach. We feel that type of emotional tension. And almost in a split second, we decide, I don't want to go there. I'm driving, I'm working. And so in that moment, you're resisting it. I'm not saying you have to stop whatever you're doing and just meditate until you feel better. Although you can do that. I've been known to do things like that. If you don't know what to do when those things come up, you're just going to keep repressing the past. And then that's when you really get stuck there. If you want a level of mastery in life where you are in tune with your emotions, you're living in the present, you feel love, you raise your vibration, it is so important that you tune in at a very deep level to every little feeling in your body. You're going to start to be the you whisperer, literally. It's all about paying attention to the subtle ways that your soul is pulled, but also how your energy body feels. There is times in life where you can experience, my fight or flight is being triggered. My nervous system is imbalanced right now. I am feeling a type of resistance, a type of unease. And if you are really tuned into your body, you'll be able to notice while it's happening that you are feeling a type of tension. When you learn to pay attention to your body in that deep of a way, processing becomes automatic. It's not really like you doing anything. You're just allowing it to come up. A lot of time, if you feel tired during the day, it's actually because of resistance, not because you're tired. If you're not at that level where you notice literally every little tension or change in your body, I'm sure you still notice the bigger moments, like when you're in an argument. You'll feel that in your body. When you think of something that upsets you, you feel that in your body. So the biggest difference here is, instead of resisting it, instead of saying, I'm just not going to feel that, I'm going to focus on something else, you allow yourself the time to actually sit with something that makes you uncomfortable. What do I mean, sit with something? I literally mean sit with it. So imagine someone you love dearly had a really bad day at work. They come in, and maybe it's even a child. They really just want to express what's wrong. How would you handle that situation? Would you say to the child, no, I don't want to hear it. You need to go and feel better. Maybe some people would, but most of us probably know that's not going to help much. So what would we do? We'd say, oh, come here, let's talk about it. Let me hear you. And you would probably just hold space, even if it's something that you at your level, you don't really relate to. Jimmy called me stupid on the playground. It really hurt my feelings. You're like, oh, I'm sorry that Jimmy said that to you. It's not really upsetting you, but it's upsetting them. And all you're doing is holding space. This is probably one of the best examples that I can give you for what emotional processing is actually like, because you at your level right now genuinely might not be upset about something, but there's a version of yourself, a younger version of yourself, that experienced things and they still feel a type of way about it. When you hold space for that and you allow it to come up and you sit with it, you're literally holding space for your past self. This is a type of self-love that is unmatched. When you are able to sit with yourself, giving all versions of yourself love and attention. The version of yourself that didn't feel good enough, the version of yourself that's guilty, the version of yourself that made the wrong choice, the version of yourself that knew better, the version of yourself that didn't know better. That is what self-love is all about. You cannot put a price on it. It's invaluable. When you start sitting with yourself in that manner, it starts to become like little holding space sessions for yourself. And it's literally like, thank you for telling me this. You're essentially feeling things now that you refused to feel in the past. There were times in your life where you did not feel safe to feel a certain way, and now you're creating the safety for your past self that they never had. For example, if you were giving a presentation and felt really scared, but you repressed that emotion because you had to perform the presentation, you never maybe felt that fear that your 11-year-old self had. And now maybe even 10 years later, that memory still feels kind of icky. It has a charge because you never felt that emotion that your 11-year-old self had. So when you let go of resistance, what you're really doing is saying yes to your past self and saying you are safe now to experience what you needed to experience a while ago, and we just didn't have the capacity to do that. Sometimes a little bit more is needed, but this practice of just sitting with something and feeling it, allowing it to come up, is the most impactful practice you will ever come across in your life. And it's really all that you need to let go of your past. Anything else I'm saying is just additional. But when you learn how to sit with things and hold space for yourself, your life will never be the same, especially when you get really good at it. And I say really good at it because when I first started doing that, it was uncomfortable. And if you aren't used to it, it might be uncomfortable. It felt like I was enduring something so that I could feel better. I just want to get rid of this emotion, so I'm just going to sit with it until I let go of it. Which technically, yeah, that's what you're doing. But if you approach it with that attitude, it's going to be painful and it's not going to happen quickly. I would sit for hours upset about something, and I just felt like it was just making things worse. And eventually I would, be able to relax into it. But if you start with kind of the wrong mindset, it'll take you longer to do and you'll feel crappy during the process. That's why I phrased it like holding space for your past self. Because yeah, it can be a little uncomfortable looking at some of the things that happened in the past or just refeeling the emotions. But when you do it from that space of love, when you do it from that space of acceptance, like sometimes I'll sit with myself and be like, wow, this is incredible. I never knew I felt this way. I've never felt this feeling before. And it's like the most uncomfortable feeling ever, but just my awe and just reverence for it and appreciation of it makes it feel really nice. There's no other way to explain it besides how I just explained it, but especially when you get really good at letting go, it's like things come up and then it feels really good. Yesterday, I let go of something even, and it literally felt like something came off of my chest, like a lightness in my chest. And when you start letting go of things, you'll know you really let go when you just feel that relief. You feel that weight of that backpack just dropping, and you're like, finally, we're here. So the lovingness is so important. I've read so many books about letting go, and it's all the same function, right? Just don't repress your emotions. Feel them. But my favorite thing that not a lot of people talk about is the role that love plays in allowing your emotions to come up. If you are looking at your past through the lens of judgment, through the lens of guilt, through the lens of just anything that's a lower emotion, it's not going to be so easy for you to just process those things and really let them go and kind of let them go painlessly. It's going to feel like a resistance to the resistance to the resistance. Like that's why when I first started letting go, it would take me so long, because I would sit there and I would first have to process my resistance to just sitting there. So that was one level of resistance. Okay, then I let that go. Okay, then there's resistance to actually feeling the emotion. Then there's resistance to the actual event. Then there's resistance to so on and so forth. And it was just like so much resistance and looking at things as bad and wrong, and it's like we have this task and we have to get rid of things here. Now it's more like a conversation. My intention is never to judge myself in the past. It's almost a paradox. My intention's not to get rid of the past. It's not to just throw it out. And you kind of almost have to have that type of acceptance for it to really work. Instead of trying to push something away, if you want to get rid of your past so bad, of course it's going to stick around because you're resisting it, and what you resist persists. How I look at it now, it's like I'm just appreciating that version of myself. I'm feeling the things that always wanted to be felt. I'm seeing different aspects of myself. It's so interesting. One of my favorite things about life is seeing myself in new and different ways. Seeing the side of you that is heartbroken, seeing the side of you that is playful, seeing the side of you that is charismatic, seeing the side of you that is adventurous. I just genuinely think it's so amazing when I see a side of myself that's like, ooh, I didn't know that was there. People talk about that with like their romantic partner. And I would say, you are your own soulmate. There's so much that you have to explore about yourself. There's aspects of yourself that you don't want to look at because you judge them, but really they're what make you so beautiful. Really they're what make you who you are, and they're not even necessarily what make you who you are, but it's stuff that you experienced. And it's a version of yourself. That version of yourself deserves love too. Even if it's not that great of an aspect, even if it's kind of like your shadowy side, it still deserves that love because it's you. There's nothing that you could do that's wrong. There's nothing that you could do that's unforgivable. You are an amazing divine being, and just you experiencing that makes it an experience of divinity. I've actually never said that before, and sometimes when I'm on here, I feel like I just channel things. I've never thought about it that way. I don't even know if I could repeat what I just said. But really, it brings tears to my eyes. Nothing that you did or do is wrong and unforgivable because we are aspects of infinity experiencing itself. And if there wasn't an experiencer to experience all of the different aspects of infinity, then that thing that wouldn't exist. Everything needs an experiencer, and everything exists within infinity. So there's nothing that you've experienced that is bad in the eyes of creation. I basically covered everything that you already need to know in order to let go of your past, but I'm going to go in a little bit more detail to specific things, but what you got from that was all that you need. Not resisting what happened in the past, not trying to just push it away, get rid of it, but actually allowing that version of yourself in the past to have your loving attention, because that's what you want at the root of this all. You want your love, you want your attention, you want your time, you want your space, and that is all things you can give yourself. I mentioned sometimes things repeat because they want to be completed. Some things feel incomplete. And so if that's the case, you don't need to talk to that person again to complete it. Complete it on your own. One time, like I said, I had that person, I was stuck in my mind. I literally sat and I said their name for, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Because when you overdo something in your subconscious, it's like it's finished. And so that's one way of doing something, just repeating something over and over and over until you literally get sick of it. Your brain has run all of its juice out about it. If you're not fixing the underlying emotional problem, I wouldn't recommend that one. But if it's just a matter of habitual thinking, I would try that, and then maybe afterwards repeat what you prefer to put your attention on. Immediately put your attention for a longer period of time on what you would prefer. Another way to do that and complete something is script it. Like if you're unfamiliar with scripting, write this scene from your life as if it was like a movie, and literally write it in present tense or past tense, however you want it, but just make it from your point of view. And write it how you would have preferred it. Write its completion. Whatever will help you in your mind to make it complete. How would you like it to end? Now, sometimes we get stuck on stuff from the past that's incomplete because there was some type of transgression. Either they wronged you actually, or you wronged someone else, actually. I mean, things that happened that you broke an agreement, or things that happened that were just outside of a standard of values and morals. If either you were transgressed or you transgressed, it can drain a lot of energy. So a way to kind of zero this out is, if you were the one that transgressed, either apologize. If it's apologizing is not a possibility, or you don't think it's actually in the highest good to go and apologize to that person, maybe write out the apology, mentally apologize, and actually do some type of physical action to balance that out, to make amends. It's really about what you think would be proper balance for this transgression, so that you can feel like that debt is forgiven. So if you stole something, maybe donating that item, for example. It is important to actually make amends if you did have a transgression, not just for mental peace of mind, but karma reasons. If it were me, I would definitely want to make sure that I did what I could to kind of even that out, because it's true, what goes around comes around. Now, if someone transgressed you, it's a little bit different, because you're not really in control of what that other person does. But you can always exercise forgiveness, and you can use the scripting technique from earlier and have them apologize to you, have a solution come up in scripting, whatever the case may be, and sit with that emotion as well. Those three together, it's a powerful and potent technique for you to let go of the situation. I also mentioned it can happen that things stay on your mind because it was a shocking event, something actually traumatic, or maybe something just very shocking, like an accident, like a car accident. Stuff like that happens really fast, and it's just very shocking to your nervous system, can just cause kind of like a break, or like a shift in your energy field. And it can be challenging to kind of like re-scratch that record. An easier way to do this is by rerunning the event and sitting with that emotion, but then rerunning it and adding a little bit of humor. So for example, with a car accident, I've done this with a car accident I was in. Imagining the actual event of the car accident, and then imagining it in reverse. Then imagining it in 2 times speed in reverse. Then imagining it in 2 times speed. Watching it from the end all the way to the beginning. Adding little funny sound effects. Having the person talk in a Mickey Mouse voice. Having it in really a low tone. Adding special effects. Like, this sounds ridiculous, but it helps re-scratch that record permanently, and you'll never have that same type of deep charge again. I did that for an event in my life that I felt was kind of shocking to my nervous system. And I actually saw that person the other day out in public, and I was able to go talk to them, chat it up, not really feel a type of way. And when I was seeing that person, I thought, wow, this person's actually not that great, not that bad, and not that scary. Basically, what I'm telling you is that these techniques can help you gain emotional freedom. It's not true freedom if you can only be okay if you're not seeing that person that really harmed you. It's not true freedom if you're good as long as you don't think about it. True emotional freedom is, it doesn't matter if they text you, if they call you, if you see them in person, if you don't see them in person, if they don't text you, if they don't call you. Either way, you're okay, and you're feeling good within yourself. It's interesting that I just pointed to my stomach, but literally, it's like it comes from so deep within inside of you that you're just rooted. It's literally like you're rooted within yourself. So if you're doing this, you become centered no matter what. I didn't expect to go out and see this person, but it happened, and it didn't throw me out of my loop. Sometimes it does throw you out of your game, and you see your ex in public and you're like freaking out. But a lot of the times, if you've done the work, if you've sat with the thing, and if you need to sit with it again, that's a perfect opportunity. Personally, I don't respond to a text that emotionally affects me until I've sat with the emotion long enough for it to go away. Same thing when sending a text. If there's a huge emotional charge around something, I'll take that time to sit with it and just be there with it until I act any further. And just doing that alone, it helps you. Just doing that alone can really improve your situation, not just with yourself, but with others. I mentioned not being resistant to your past, But really, a lot of the times people get so caught up on the past because they feel like they should have known better, like they could have done better. But that's like you in 6th grade judging yourself for what you didn't know in 4th grade. You know now and you can discern now. So it's easy to say, oh, you should have known then, but you actually didn't know. And you might have known mentally, but if you hadn't embodied it, if it wasn't in your heart, you couldn't have acted from it. And so for whatever reason, you could not have acted from it, and forgive yourself for not knowing better. Recognize that you are a human being and that you're somewhat prone to making mistakes. We weren't born into life with a guidebook of like, this is the way to do it, this is what you need to know. This is part of the journey of figuring out what works and figuring out definitely what doesn't work. And the beginning of your life a lot of times is figuring out this definitely doesn't work. So sitting with yourself at that human level can be so impactful because it frees you from being a perfect thing. You don't have to have every physical thing on your body perfectly. You're just a human. You don't have to always act in a perfect way. You're just a human. And going forward, this is one of the most important things. You know that you're just a human. Let me tell you, you're going to let go of your past, but I can guarantee you, if you're living right, you're going to fuck up again. Let's be real. Hold my hand when I say this. You are going to make another mistake in your life. I am going to make another mistake in my life. And honestly, I hope that we do, because that's exactly how we learn fast. Can you learn from other people's mistakes? Can you get a mentor? I mean, let's be real. Very successful people, they don't learn from their mistakes. They learn from other people's mistakes. And there's always that type of learning. But if you're out there putting one foot in front of the other, doing things before you're ready, putting yourself out there, you're going to make mistakes. You're not always going to be perfect. But that's how you get good. That is exactly how you're going to be the best version of yourself. Showing up, giving everything your 100%, and then correcting. Ready, fire, aim. Doing the thing and then correcting. That's how you do it fast. And living from that way, you're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. The biggest mistake that you can possibly make is not putting yourself out there, because when you're not putting yourself out there, you're not learning. So congratulate yourself for being brave enough to put yourself out there in the universe, to have this earth experience. Just you having this earth experience, you're a brave soul, you're an amazing person, and give yourself that permission to make a mistake. It's unavoidable and you don't want to avoid it. That's exactly what's going to get you to the next level, is by making those mistakes and learning those lessons and then integrating it. The only way out of imperfection is accepting that imperfection is perfection. Ooh, I like that. So as you love yourself in the past, love yourself in the present, and allow yourself to do the best that you can with what you know, and allow others to do the best that they can with what they know, because everyone is out there doing their best. No matter what you've done, no matter what you did, no matter who you are, no matter where you've been, ooh, I'm rhyming, you are worthy. Roundabout way to say it, but you are worthy no matter what you've done, no matter what you've said, no matter who you are, no matter the clothes you wear, no matter the car you drive. Just you being born, just you as a person, as a soul. I am that I am, you are that you are. You are worthy, you are beautiful just because you are. I love you just because you are. So thank you for tuning in today. It has been amazing hosting this podcast and having this experience every week of chatting with the love of my life, you. So thanks for tuning in. If this was helpful, like, comment, subscribe. I have a free discovery call that you can sign up for in my bio on Instagram at @SivaSoul. That's just a simple conversation, see if and how I can help you. And I guarantee you'll get more clarity, if nothing else, from that. So make sure to check that out, and I will see you next time. Peace and love at ya. Mwah. Love ya. I'm gonna film some short form content and then head to yoga. Bye.